Hey Newburgh, it's Kyle, your Director of Music and Worship Arts. I'm here hanging in Asbury Lounge and bringing you this week's Monday Minute. Our Unpacked groups are still going. If you haven't checked them out, please do. Even if you miss a session or two, they're open to anybody, anytime. Also, VBS is happening this week. Now, even if you don't have kids or you haven't registered or whatever else, this is a really good time to be in prayer for our kids to make sure that they're getting what they need from this from God. You can always check out what's going on in Newburgh by going to the website NewburgUMC.org. If you hit /events, there's everything listed right there for you. Now, for this week's devotional, I want to talk about one of the hard things that Christ said to us. He said that the most important commandment in the Gospel of Luke is you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength, right? And then he says, love your neighbor as yourself. We all know that, we've heard it before, but he says something harder in another part of Luke. He says, to you who are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. And then, later on after that, he says what we know as the golden rule. In light of that, do to others as you would have them do to you. Now that's one thing to say, right? We've heard that before, we can repeat it, but it's something else to actually put into practice, to love your enemy. So we're going to look at someone that actually did that. If we go to the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel, we find the stories of King Saul and his predecessor, the great King David. Now, David started first as a shepherd, and then he was in the entourage of King Saul. And that lasted for a while. They were really close for a good long time, until that infamous event of David killing Goliath. And all of a sudden, the people of Israel started singing the praises of David more than Saul. That got Saul jealous. So jealous, so mad, in fact, that he decided he was going to kill David. And David ran away. Now, for quite some time, David lived as a refugee in the wilderness, keeping away from Saul, someone who was like a father to him, but now is trying to kill him. Terrible time. Now, at one point, while Saul and his entire army was actively looking for King David, not King David, he wasn't king yet, but looking for David, Saul was in a cave by himself. And David and his men found him there. And David's men said, David, look, he's right there. Go get him while he's by himself. David couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't kill Saul, even when he had the opportunity. It happened again when David and his few men snuck into Saul's army, and they said the same thing. Look, Saul's tent is right there. Just go kill him. Take care of this now. He said, nope, not going to do it. David even confronted Saul afterwards and said, hey, look, I had this opportunity, but I still love you, and I'm not going to do that to you. After one of those times, Saul, it says, began to cry. This is in 1 Samuel 24. He said to David, you are a better man than I am, for you have repaid me good for evil. Yes, you have been amazingly kind to me today, for when the Lord put me in a place where you could have killed me, you didn't do it. Who else would let his enemy get away when he had him in his power? May the Lord reward you well for the kindness you have shown me today. And now I realize that you are surely going to be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. And Saul went home. Now, kept happening, didn't do that forever. He kept going after David until the fateful time when fighting a Philistine battle, Saul died. Man, now sparing one's enemy, that seems like when you could have done it without repercussions, that's one thing. But David showed real love after Saul died. What would you do if the person trying to kill you all of a sudden was finally dead and you didn't have to deal with them anymore? Probably be happy. But 2 Samuel says that David and his men tore their clothes in sorrow when they heard the news of Saul's dying. They mourned and wept and fasted all day for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the Lord's army and the nation of Israel, because they had died by the sword that day. David even had the man who claimed to have helped Saul kill himself put to death, for he had confessed to killing the Lord's anointed. And then David composed a funeral song for Saul, his enemy. He's saying this: how beloved and gracious were Saul and Jonathan. They were together in life and in death. They were swifter than eagles, stronger than lions. O women of Israel, weep for Saul, for he dressed you in luxurious scarlet clothing, in garments decorated with gold. Oh, how the mighty heroes have fallen in battle. Now, we probably don't have people actively hunting us down, right? And we might not even have people we would consider our enemy, per se. But I bet that there's people in your life that you don't like. Maybe they annoy you. Maybe they disagree with you. Or you disagree with them and their views. Or maybe they've actually done something to cause you harm. This could be someone that you've known for a long time, or someone that you're dealing with right now. The thing is, what we just heard both from Jesus and from the account of David and Saul tells us that that's the person that God calls you to love. Yeah, that one. Now, before we go on, though, I want to say this. Love is not being passive-aggressive or being quietly rude on the side. Love is not ignoring that person. Love is not avoiding that person. Love is not minimizing the time you spend around that person, or being secretly happy when bad things happen to them, or upset if good things are happening to them. No, that's not what it means to love your enemy. Love is patiently listening to them. Love is praying for them. Love is rejoicing when they rejoice and weeping when they weep. Love is doing good to them, maybe taking them out for lunch. Love is forgiving them. Love is accepting them. You know who that person is to you. Your mission this week is to go and love that person. Have a good week. And may the grace of God, who loves us and in turn expects us to love others, go with you.